I think you have to know yourself well enough, which comes down to a deeper principle, is that a lot of times entrepreneurs can get caught up so much in the build that they lose their own kind of sense of self and self-awareness, what it is that they actually want, what it is that they're actually trying to build, and what it is that they actually are capable of doing and managing and handling without it stealing their quality of life.
So Caleb, something I've been thinking about is, let me ask you this question. What's
Yeah.
better? Having one business where you put 100% of your energy as an entrepreneur, or having 10 businesses where you put 10% of your energy into each and you spread it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is anytime you divide your energy, there's an exponential factor to it, right? It's not like when you put your focus on two different things, it's not like you can make both of those two things get 50% of your energy is going to come down, because while you're doing the one thing over here, part of you is going to be thinking about this other thing that you've got going. And so ultimately, I think,
is that because of the multitasking? As they talk about the brains, like if somebody distracts you, it takes 12 minutes or 14 or whatever scientifically to get back on focus.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's that. I think it's that it really comes down to the person, though. If you're able to pivot quickly, then maybe you could make it work to build 10 different businesses all at one time. I do think you build one business, get it to a point where it is able to be sustaining. You've got a team, you've got people in the right place, and you're able to step in and play one role. And then maybe you step out and launch the next venture, and you have more energy to give because you've built something. It's what's easier, you've got 5 kids, having 5 kids all at one time, or having 5 kids staggered over 9 or 10 years, right? Okay, I can see.
Yes. Yeah.
One would be, I think, significantly harder than the other.
Would be easier than 5 overall.
Having
too.
one kid would definitely be easier than 5, but if you want a big family,
you want to stagger them.
Having all 5 at the same time is definitely going to be a harder way to do it. You're probably going to be more stressed out. You're probably going to be more anxious. You're probably going to be more. And so I think it's the same with business, that if you can focus on one thing at a time, build it to a point where it's sustainable at some degree, to some level, and then go into the next thing. And it's the overflow principle, right? It's like the theory of balance. Like, balance is not achievable, really. Like true balance, like perfect balance, it's an enigma. It doesn't exist.
It goes back and forth and floats into different areas in seasons.
Right. So the key then, if you're going to have multiple things running at the same time, and you and I both have multiple things running at the same time, but the key, I think, of why it works is because those things have overlap. Those things are stacked on top of each other rather than being totally separate realities. They all kind of function, work together, and serve one another. And so it's really like you are building one business that has 4, 5, 6 different expressions. And
that's a good point. Like with the 5 kids analogy, right?
Yeah.
They're all in the same family.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I was looking at what I've got going on. I'm a partner in 14 different apartment complexes and started 6 businesses, and each of those apartment complexes is a business.
Yeah.
But it's underneath holding companies and stuff like that. But sometimes I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to just have one business.
One business.
And all of those thoughts and all of those meetings and all of that scattered was just consolidated into one. But I think as an entrepreneur, there's like a fear that some of them won't work out.
Yeah.
Some of the businesses I start, and I think even just when I was early in my journey of being an entrepreneur, part of it's the shiny object syndrome or whatever, where you see I could do this or that. But then I think part of it's diversification, or just thinking a lot of the stuff I do is maybe not a good idea, or maybe it's exploratory.
Yeah.
Right. It's trying things. And I've shut down many businesses just voluntarily, and not many, maybe 5, because we tried it for a bit, gave it a shot, and realized it's not for me.
It's not what you wanted to do.
Could it be successful? It could. Yeah. Anything can be successful, but then you do it for 3, 6 months and you realize what it's going to take to be successful, whether that's hiring a team, or maybe I don't have a person that could build it, or I just don't want to do it. But it's hard to see that on the front end sometimes. So you got to get into it, and you're like,
I think there's a point that you made that is really valuable. And I think of the Bible passage from Ecclesiastes that says there's nothing new under the sun. There's no new, remarkable, creative idea out there for
Yeah.
business. And so everything that we do, it's not about the idea, it's about the execution. It's about, we were talking about even earlier about even something as huge of an idea as like sending rockets and people to Mars.
Yeah.
It's not that.
It's not a good idea.
It's
like,
not
by good, novel. It's
like,
not, wow, this is a crazy idea that in and of itself will make the business successful.
plenty of people have thought about how cool that would be.
Yeah.
To put other people on another planet.
And there's only one person that's executing on it though.
Right. Taking action, doing it. And so, you know, it's less, I think, about coming up with a good idea. And the reason I bring that up is because I do think that's the trap that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into that leads them to starting the 10 businesses that they can't, is that they only are giving fractions of their energy to, and none of them are really all that successful. It's have you heard of what's it called? The Entrepreneurial Growth Curve.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. The Entrepreneurial Growth Curve is basically every business venture starts out in an upward trajectory, what's called uninformed optimism. You don't know what it's going to take to make this successful. You don't really know anything. You're just excited because you've got this idea and you're running with it, right? So your energy's high, your work ethic's high, all those kind of things are high. And then at some point it starts to get hard. You start to face barriers. Sometimes that's early on, sometimes that's years into the journey. And then you move from uninformed optimism to informed pessimism. Now that I know how hard this is, now that I know what it's going to take to make this thing successful, now I'm starting to look at all the ways that it could fail. I'm starting to look at all the things that I don't want to do, all the things that I don't like. And after a period of enough time of informed pessimism, hit this moment of kind of crisis of meaning of like, why am I doing this in the first place?
I've had that thought.
Why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard on something?
I've even had that thought on successful stuff.
Yeah.
Because success means more work.
Yeah. Because it's not about.
And then you're going, why am I doing, now I have to do more work.
Because it's not about the outcome. It's about, is it actually serving the life that you want to live, the person that you want to be, and all those kind of things. But where most people go out and decide to start the next thing to that itch that they're not getting scratched, or because they think it'll be easier, is when they get to that kind of crisis of meaning moment, instead of pushing through that, you know, and understanding this is a part of the entrepreneurial growth curve. This is a part of the business growth curve. Everyone goes through this. Everyone feels this feeling at some point in their journey. Most people, they jump from that and they go back to the beginning, right? They go back to finding another thing to do where they can have that feeling of uninformed optimism. They can just feel happy and excited about the thing that they're building. But when you push through that crisis of meaning, then the real growth curve begins to happen. And now you're able to step into a place of informed optimism. You know what it takes. You know how hard it's going to be, all the work that's involved. You have all the information, and now you're actually able to be positive and have a positive outlook on what you're building. And I think a lot of people start 10 businesses because they just get stuck in this cycle of uninformed optimism, informed pessimism.
So they just keep starting new ones that
jump
never
to a new
really
idea. Right.
And I think the more businesses you start, though, if you have some awareness and just hopefully grow a little bit, you don't have to go through that cycle as much, because you know that it's going to be like, there is no optimism. It's like, you just know that every business is going to be
there is no optimism.
You just got to go, you can go straight to the hard.
Yeah.
Because you just know that little honeymoon phase is always going to be there. It's just the excitement. It's, hey, you're meeting, you're going for lunch, who are you going to get on the team and all this stuff, all the fun part.
Yeah.
You're getting the brand going and all this stuff. And then it's going to, after you've been through that cycle a few times, that it's just always that way when you start a business.
Yeah.
And so you can go into it hopefully less blindly. So maybe that can shorten that curve though, right?
I don't know, man. Maybe it shortens the curve, but I think of it like premarital.
Like, you're not shocked that it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, I guess at first you are, the early business, you're like, oh man, this is actually.
I guess I get that, but I'm thinking like premarital counseling, for example. It's one of the most useless things, because, and I used to do premarital counseling. Like, you get in there, it's this lovey-dovey couple. They're just so excited about building their future. They have no idea how hard it's going to be. No idea how many times they're going to fight. They have no idea how many financial pressures they're going to face. No idea. So they're sitting there and you're trying to
Yeah.
get someone to talk about problems that they don't believe that they have. They don't believe that they'll ever have because their situation's unique. They're in love.
That's
Right?
a first time marriage.
That's a first time marriage. Okay. Okay. But then the thing is, do you want to have more than one? Like, how many do you want to have before you get it? That kind of thing. It's the same with business. It's the Alex Hormozy talks about it like beating the boss.
Oh,
you know, if you're not able to beat the boss, then you're going to start back at the beginning and keep starting back at the beginning. Only it's not an immediate reload of your video game. It's years of time to get back to the same point. And eventually you run out of time, you run out of energy, you run out of drive because you just got stuck in a cycle, you know, and every time maybe you're a little more informed, maybe you go into it a little more informed, but you just burnt years more rather than if you burnt those same years pushing through the hard, pushing through the crisis of meaning, then you would get to the point where you could actually build something and grow something with the right information, with the right amount of optimism, realism. It's hard. But if I think about our coaching business, right? We were talking about this before. It's not a remarkable idea. You know, I think what we're coaching and the way we're coaching is powerful.
Because even within mundane ideas, like Gary Vee says this, he's, you know, my idea, he started a marketing agency.
Yeah. It's like not novel, it's not creative.
But he's executed and he's created something that is remarkable.
Yeah.
Out of an idea that was just nothing. Anyone could have done it.
Yeah. But we start that coaching business.
Yeah.
Early on, there's excitement, there's energy.
Yeah.
People are signing up, people are excited, we're making impact, all these things are happening, we're making money, doing all the stuff. And then at some point,
you're telling me it's going to get hard soon?
At some point, it gets hard. It gets harder.
Yeah.
And you have to decide. I think the point is you have to decide early on when you have some experience under your belt, which you and I both do. You have to decide early on before you even dive into the idea and actually start executing on it. You have to decide, is this something that I'm willing to push through the difficult for? Is this something that I'm actually willing to stay committed to and keep showing up, keep working and keep grinding when it's hard and all that stuff? And if you can make that commitment early on and keep that level of commitment throughout, there's tons of coaching businesses that get started every single year that fail. But if there's one out there that's ever been massively successful, then that's all the evidence that I need that what we have is a good enough idea. If there's only been one that's been successful, then I can believe that the one that I'm building can be successful. So as long as I can keep that conviction and not, because the only reason all those other ones failed is because the people running them didn't know enough of what they were doing. They didn't pick the right person to do it for, or they just didn't put in the work necessary to get it done. All of that comes down to self-agency. The odds are not stacked against you any more than with anyone else. It's not easier for other people, right? And the lie that too many people believe is that my circumstance and my situation is unique. I had this uniquely difficult thing that I had to overcome. And
but everyone has.
And I'm not saying that some people don't, their back's not against the wall. They don't have difficulty. It's not hard, but I'm saying it's that way for everybody. Everybody, like the hardest thing that's against you is still the hardest thing that's coming against you. Whether that's something that society would call an extreme situation or a minor, it's still the most difficult obstacle that you as an individual have ever had to overcome. And so your experience of it is going to be the same. Everyone goes through difficult growth cycles, and the key to taking a business from mediocrity to success and ultimately to being able to own an exit in it, whether that's fully exiting it, selling it to private equity or a merger, acquisition of some sort, or whether that's
buying back your time
by building the business in such that it's able to run and operate itself with your limited involvement. Whatever your preferred exit is, that's the key to doing it, is understanding it's going to take work. It's going to take overcoming challenges.
So that's why you like a single business. It sounds like you like more of the consolidation.
I'm not saying I like a single entity. I like for the work that I'm doing every day to have overlap and back.
Too scattered is
overlap. If it's things that are way, if I'm running a marketing company for real estate agents over here and a personal training online coaching business over here, like there's zero overlap. So if you have those two ideas,
you don't get those synergies,
and those two things you're really great at, then you just got to figure out a way to make those two things overlap. And so maybe an example there would be
real estate professionals who work out.
Exactly. I train busy real estate professionals in how to grow their income, how to grow their business, and how to grow their physical health so that they have more energy and more vitality to focus on the things that are the needle movers for them. And that's how you bring those two things together. When you're going to work every day on these two businesses.
You're not switching in your mind.
You're not constantly having to switch. So you're thinking about the same person, the same avatar, the same client, or the same type of offering, the way that you want to add value. And then that way those things are overlapped. It's the same with our company, right? Our companies.
We have a lot of things going on, but there's synergy. There's a lot of overlap, even of team members.
Yeah. We've got, for those listening that maybe don't know the companies that we own and run, we own a private equity investment firm that focuses on multifamily real estate, oil and gas acquisitions, private credit. We call it the alternative investment trinity. And that business is raising capital, asset management, running these funds and these apartment complexes and these development projects. And then we have a coaching business where we coach serious action takers, high-level entrepreneurs and networkers in how to launch their own private equity fund where they can participate in the types of things that we're participating in. Investors bring their networks in and make nice, juicy margins just for connecting their network to really great private investment opportunities. And so obviously there's synergy between those two things. They serve each other in a lot of different ways. And the things that we're having to do to grow this business are the things that we're able to coach these guys to do to grow their business. Have proof of concept over here. We know it works. We're able to pass that knowledge over to these guys. A big percentage of those guys come in and raise capital in their fund and fund some of our deals. So it actually, there's overlap. And then our other company, Fundworks, that comes in for all those guys and handles all the back end administration, makes it completely turnkey.
There's so much overlap.
There's overlap. So it's not that we have multiple separate businesses. Found a way to have different ways to bring value to the marketplace in a way that overlaps so that
almost like having a one giant company with divisions.
Yeah.
At that point really too, right? Where it is, they're all serving a singular goal. I got two thoughts. Well, let me ask you this. Is it possible to have those 10 businesses and just be a CEO of them? Because I know that's always what the ideal or kind of like we think it's, and then Elon Musk, how does he do it? He's in 5 businesses. He's doing all the government stuff. And I read a thing even where his dad was like, once he gets into all that government stuff, it's going to just pull him away from his businesses because it's a whole nother world that's different.
Sure.
But what are your thoughts on, could I have 10 businesses and be the CEO of them with teams on all those businesses? Or is that just not, or would it better for me to just be the CEO of one?
Yeah, I think first the comparison between anyone and Elon Musk, you just got to know that
he's freakish.
You're not like, he's just built different. The guy is the richest person on planet Earth and he still works like 120 hours a week. If that's what you want to do and you're wired to do that, Elon is both creative and conscientious at the same time, which is a super rare combination. He's creative in that he comes up with really remarkable solutions for real problems. But he's also conscientious in that he can take that idea and bring it down to literally knowing how to put together the proper like raw materials, make an EV battery. Like he has the ability to bring it all the way down. Most people,
he's a visionary and an engineer.
He's a visionary and an engineer. He's a strategist and an operator through. And most people aren't wired that way. So can he be the CEO of 10 different companies and run those? Yeah, because he works 120 hours a week and he has a brain the size of Mars. You know what I mean? So I think it's understanding
your own capacity.
I think understanding your own capacity. I don't think there's a blanket answer to that question for anybody. I think you have to know yourself well enough, which comes down to a deeper principle, is that a lot of times entrepreneurs can get caught up so much in the build that they lose their own kind of sense of self and self-awareness, what it is that they actually want, what it is that they're actually trying to build, and what it is that they actually are capable of doing and managing and handling without it stealing their quality of life.
Yeah. And why are you building, right?
Yeah. Why
So
are
I
you
think
doing
there's
it?
a lot of fear that goes around entrepreneurship because as entrepreneurs, we're viewed as not fearful.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of fear of fail or fear of, or
Yeah.
trying to prove something,
Yeah.
trying to prove that you can do it. Or I think that's why even in different businesses I've started, it was like insecurity of, I don't know if these are going to work out or not.
Yeah.
So I've got to have a couple of them going because they're probably, but then kind of like you touched on earlier, why wouldn't they work out? If I had all of my energy into something that was even just an average idea, a good, solid, normal idea, like a construction company, it's not a very novel idea.
Right.
It's the most not innovative idea you could ever come up with.
Yeah.
But if that was the only thing I was doing, because I do have a construction company, it pulls me in my mind, and we're in that point now on that curve, right? Where it's just like, why are we doing
Crisis
this?
of meaning.
But I'm not wanting to quit because of the team we have. So that's allowing me to keep doing it. If it was by myself, I probably would just be like, forget it.
Yeah.
But because we have 5 employees that really want to do the job and are very committed, and when I talk to them, they're like, no matter how hard this is, we want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's keep doing it then.
Yeah.
But I guess all that to say, I think a lot of it too is I think the idea of just having one singular business, it's boring. It's not shiny object. You're not always doing something new, but I think that's the point, right? Because all that stuff steals.
Yeah.
It steals your joy. It might give you some joy because it's fun, the rush, but it steals your time.
Yeah.
It steals you just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff can just pull you in so many directions. And like you said, the switching of the mind from one thing to another, you lose.
Yeah. I think with our businesses that we've started together, right?
They're under one family.
They're under one family, and they came from this overflow principle. Like when we first started, it was just the private equity firm, the investment firm.
Yeah.
And that's what we gave that all of our energy until it came to a point where there was a little bit of an overflow and a realization of, okay, we've got an opportunity to create leverage by helping other people learn how to build something similar to what we've built, and creating a platform, a bridge that can connect those people into this thing.
Yeah.
And they can benefit, their investors can benefit, we benefit. There's a win-win across the board. And it just made sense. So it was an overflow. Like, it didn't come because of shiny object syndrome.
Need to start. It
didn't come
incubating that idea as a kind of a division.
It's like
or
this
kind of
business kind of grew up enough until it had a baby, or it duplicated or multiplied out, and it just
almost naturally.
Yeah,
it became
made
obvious.
Sense. And so I would say when that's the trajectory, then that's the right time and the right scenario where you launch the next thing, is when there's a very clear overlap. And usually that overlap comes from an overflow. You're pouring into one cup, that cup starts to overflow, and you got to find out where, okay, that cup's overflowing. We don't have enough space to contain all the good things that are happening in this thing that we've been pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into. So we need to get another cup, so that there's something that it can overflow into. And that's the right principle, I think. You can manage and run that.
Yeah.
Versus I just have to scratch the itch because I'm a builder. I'm just a builder. I just want to come up with good ideas and launch something new. And I just want to feel happy and excited about my work single day. And I never want to have hard days. And because I've had 2 or 3 hard days in a row, man, I think it's time to go look for another opportunity. It's like, you're never going to achieve anything in life if you don't cultivate the resilience that it takes to get through the days that you don't want to do the stuff that's necessary to do it, to make it successful.
And I think I've talked to people too. Last couple of thoughts is just talked to one guy who's 65 who he used to have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But now I did a lot of stuff. I had a lot of stuff. And now he wants it all
just bring it down
smaller. And I'm even thinking of the 14 apartment complexes I mentioned. What if I only had 2, but I didn't have a mortgage on them?
Yeah.
And they were both located 2 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And all of my energy was in those. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think it comes down to personal capacity. It comes down to your own goals. It comes down to, I'd probably get bored. But in conclusion, the answer is there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
One business where you put 100% of your energy, or 10 businesses where you put 10%, maybe
Yeah.
there's a balance in there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 3 businesses.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, if you can have those businesses in the same industry or overlapping with resources and with the team and serving a singular goal,
Yeah.
that's helpful too. I mean, having
And
to
it doesn't
jump
mean,
everywhere.
and I think it's a point. It doesn't mean that it's still not going to be hard. Like, it's still very difficult. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like you double the amount of work, even when the one thing's overflowing and it makes sense to the next thing overlaps.
The greatest businesses in this
work.
world were Walmart, the largest company in the world, still.
Yeah.
Amazon's getting close.
Yeah.
They're creeping.
Yeah.
But they're not trying to do another business.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just doing Walmart. And that's why I think a lot of times you see these monster companies that they push through all that stuff you said, and they weren't trying to do 5 of them at the same time. They were just doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like Amazon, I'm going to sell the books, and then it's going to be super hard. And people don't even know what the internet is.
Yeah.
In my pitch, I have to explain that to them.
Yeah.
And then, but I just kept doing it and continued.
Yeah.
And now he's doing this stuff, sending people to space and stuff. But that's just for fun now, because
Right.
he has so much money. It doesn't, if that thing fails, who cares?
Who cares?
It's more of a hobby.
Exactly.
But I think that just that a lot of these giant businesses that you see, if you look at all the top 100 companies, is very singular.
Yeah.
So there's maybe a point there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good conversation, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
All right, man. Till next time.